This is a download from the BBC. To find out more, visit bbc.co.uk/Radio4.
The report out this morning claims Jersey helps the UK generate around £2.3 billion in tax revenues each year and supports 180,000 British jobs. The work, prepared by Capital Economics, the independent consultancy, was commissioned by, wait for it, Jersey Finance, and seeks to provide the most comprehensive analysis to date of the real relationship between Jersey's economy and that of the UK. Senator Philip Ozof is Treasurer and Resources Minister for the States of Jersey. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Why did you commission this research?
Well, as you've said, there's been a huge debate in recent months about the role of international finance centres, and what the government of Jersey wanted was a really independent, credible piece of research that actually sets out the full relationship between Jersey and the United Kingdom.
OK, let me hit you with some numbers here. Income tax there, 20%, unless you're very rich, in which case it's 1%. About half of GDP is financial services, and that's presumably because there's between 0 and 10% corporation tax, 0 capital gains tax, 0 inheritance tax, and VAT of 5%. Tell me how that helps the UK collect tax.
Well, what we do is we seek to identify capital from around the world, place it in Jersey, and then upstream it to London. We provide about £120 billion to the UK banking system. That's equivalent to about a third of the whole of QE. Jersey conduits about £400 billion worth of investment.
So how does that work? That is money that goes into banks in Jersey whose parent companies are in the UK. So that money is there available at that point for lending to the rest of the economy.
That's right. And this morning we're talking a lot about the importance of banks lending. Banks have to have the capital to lend, and Jersey is a conduit for the British banking system. And if that money wouldn't be invested via Jersey, it would effectively end up into other centres around the world, such as New York and Singapore. And it's this relationship between Jersey and the City of London, which has been a relationship of 800 years, which is so powerful. And this report really sort of dispels a lot of the myths where a net benefit to the UK.
OK, this report also says that you do acknowledge there's some tax leakage, I think as you put it, or tax losses for the UK Treasury, which is around half a billion pounds. You acknowledge that?
Well, that's why this report is credible, because it sets out the full pluses and minuses. 3 weeks ago, our Chief Minister met David Cameron at Downing Street, and this whole debate about tax evasion, quite rightly, has been addressed and identified. Jersey now has a new arrangement with the United Kingdom, transferring automatically information, chasing down, as the Chancellor in the UK has said, tax evaders. And now we've put an end to this debate about Jersey being possibly used as a tax haven for people evading taxes.
Well, evading's one thing, OK? There's aggressive avoidance, which is the other. Now, everyone knows, Apple, for example, it's not your jurisdiction, this one goes through Ireland, but, tens of billions in profits, 0 in income tax in some cases. It's the aggressive tax avoidance schemes that really get under people's skin, and that continues unchanged at the moment.
Well, it doesn't continue in Jersey, and this whole relationship, this positive relationship that that we've had for many years with the United Kingdom, and we're going to build on in future. Many of those issues are for the UK Parliament to deal with, but Jersey will cooperate. We don't seek to have Jersey used for aggressive tax avoidance. We want to focus on what we're good at. We've got a delegation out in China today identifying opportunities for more inward investment into the United Kingdom.
So you think you can actually help bring foreign investment to the UK via you?
Well, that's what we've been doing for the last 50 years. That's what this report very clearly sets out, that we are actually supporting up to 180,000 jobs in the UK, and we want to do more. OK,
let's talk about transparency. You just did a deal recently, you and a number of other jurisdictions, with saying that automatic sharing of information, but it's not public, though. I can't do a web search like I can at Companies House. If I want to find out who owns a UK company, I can do that. I cannot do that with companies which are registered in Jersey.
And neither can you do that in a lot of countries. The really important point in this international debate about tax evasion, of which Jersey has absolutely zero tolerance, is that tax authorities can access that information.
We've got a central regulator. Tax evasion is already illegal. We don't care about this. Tax avoidance. I want you to focus on that.
We still have to deal with that, though, and we've got to help countries that don't have central registries of information that tax authorities can access. We do have a central registry, and we want to help other countries to put in places those central registries. And that's a new new global standard, and that's encouraging. We support the Prime Minister's objective in this area, and we're working with the UK in order to achieve that.
Just a very last thought. It sounds very nice. Low taxes, nice climate. Can I go and live there? What do I need to do?
Many people from the United Kingdom, indeed, it's a very cosmopolitan place. Many people come and live in Jersey to come and work.
What was my minimum net worth need to be?
Well, if you've got a job, if you want to come and be a nurse, if you want a doctor, if you want to work in any one of our wonderful industries in Jersey, you are very welcome. We have got a long relationship with the United Kingdom, and we want it to grow.
All right,
and you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Senator Philip Oziff. I'll have a look after the programme. Thanks very much indeed. Now, let's have a look at some market information. Where are they? Oh, here we are. Got my piece of paper here. The Dow Jones ended down 0.33%. The S&P was pretty much flat. The FTSE 100 was also down just a fraction. The pound has been losing value against the dollar. It's $1.51.5 and €1.17. My markets guest this morning is Mike Amey, Managing Director and Portfolio Manager at PIMCO, the world's largest bond investor. Good morning to you. Let's start with Portugal. Finance Minister and Foreign Minister have both resigned. The bond markets took fright. Yields, the cost of borrowing, rose by 0.25%, which is quite a big move in sovereign bond markets. Despite the departures, the country's Prime Minister, Pedro Passos Coelho, remained defiant and said he wouldn't be the next to go.
Não me demito.
I won't resign. I won't abandon my country. We live in a time where we cannot take fright in the face of adversity. How can I get scared when I see around me examples of bravery from hundreds of thousands of Portuguese people?
Diante das adversidades.
Mike, now, really, the resignations came as them thinking it's going to be hard to stand by policies delivering more austerity. It's very politically unpopular. Are we entering a new phase where austerity is going to come off the wheels are going to come off that programme a bit?
Well, I think we've been seeing a little bit of pushback against austerity for the last 6 or 12 months, and that's something I think we're going to see more of. Portugal has some profound challenges, as you know, and it's not alone in having those challenges. And working down deficits during periods of semi-permanent mild recession across Europe is very, very difficult. So I think when we look at Portugal, we look at Greece, we look at lots of parts of southern Europe, we see a sustained challenge. We've seen a very strong rally in the markets, and I think one should remember there are still challenges ahead. Okay, I'm going to have to start with also talk to an FT story. PIMCO's, your firm's flagship fund, has seen record outflows. Now, you're the biggest bond fund in the world. Bonds have had a hard time, so perhaps not an enormous surprise. Is this what we're seeing, the great rotation, where people basically move the money which has been piling into bonds during times of trouble and moving out? So we don't think it's the start of the great rotation for a couple of reasons. One is that the pretty big sell-off in the bond market in the last 6 weeks was triggered by some comments by the governor of the Central Bank of the United States, Ben Bernanke, and his expectations for growth and inflation are reasonably optimistic, and we don't think that's going to happen. As a result of that, some of the weakness we've seen, we think, has been a little bit overdone. Of course, bond yields are low, so at some point, bond yields will go up, but we don't think that's at this moment in time. OK, Mike, we're going to have to leave it there. Mike Amey from PIMCO, as I say, the world's largest bond investor. The numbers of young people out of work across Europe is deeply troubling. For the under-25s, both Greece and Spain have figures above 25%. It's been called the biggest crisis Europe faces. So a grand summit on youth unemployment is taking place in Berlin today. Chancellor Angela Merkel will host President Hollande of France, along with most other EU leaders. All 28 employment ministers will be there. The German government is to unveil a scheme to attract the young and unemployed to Germany. Work Minister Ursula von der Leyen explained more to the BBC's correspondent in Berlin, Steve Evans.
These young people are willing to move because they want a perspective. And what I fear is that they're going to leave Europe if they don't get an answer here in Europe. The only barrier they have in the European labour market is a language barrier. So we are paying for language classes if they want them, travelling costs, or for example, the costs to have 8 weeks of internship just to match the expectations of the potential employer and the potential employee.
I can hear voices in Greece and Spain saying, you are taking our best workers, you are taking our future.
Well, these young people do not have work. They are looking for a job. And unemployment is so painful for families because these young people have no future right now. Therefore, it's not only a one-way thing, increased mobility. It's also the other way. We have to invest in the countries with a high youth unemployment. There have to be billions to invest in small and medium companies that are healthy, that need investment credits for moderate interest rates. This is the growth initiative right now who gives relief on the short term and also investment in future structures that are necessary.
The basic economic policy of the European Union, certainly of the Eurozone anyway, driven by Germany, is broadly to balance government budgets. If you balance government budgets, you get not enough demand, so you get unemployment. Isn't that really the answer?
Well, it's not the government that creates demand. It's the economy where the jobs
can create demand.
No, this is an artificial demand. On the long term, it won't work because it's not the government who creates job. It's the economy who creates job. Therefore, we need a healthy, competitive economy. And we have to invest in innovation, in education. And the small and medium companies, there are very interesting small and medium companies in Spain, for example, in Sunrise branches. They desperately need loans because their domestic banking system gives loans with interest rates of 7 and 8%. So we have now the European Investment Bank who says, okay, you're going to get a loan for 1 or 2%, which is completely different, so they can invest and offer new jobs.
That was Ursula von der Leyen talking to the BBC's correspondent in Berlin.